Confirmed payments of $1,400 and $2,000 are coming your way. Checks of up to $2,000 could be going out very soon to eligible people. Now, there's still emergency rental assistance available for those struggling to cover their rent, all because of the crisis. It has been reported that the federal government will soon be shifted to places that have run out of funds and still have people in need of help. The U.S. Department of Treasury will begin moving rental assistance among states and local aid distributions, in order to make sure it gets into the hands of struggling renters and the landlords. During the crisis, a historic $46.5 billion in rent relief was appropriated by Congress. This came in two pots of rent relief money: the $25 billion from the stimulus package and the additional $21.55 billion including the American Rescue Plan. By the end of October, just under half of the first allotment, or $12 billion, had gone out. And according to the Treasury Department, $1 billion of the second round has been distributed.
Congress. I'm proud that we had a hearing the other day in the Ways and Means Committee that we're going to bring to a markup and ultimately to the floor of this House, Social Security 2100. I'm proud of the fact that we have a president of the United States who refers to Social Security as a sacred trust between the government and their people. And Social Security has never failed. It has never missed a payment. It used to be, and Mr. Cartwright from Pennsylvania knows this, that we would go back to 1935 to explain why Roosevelt back then in the midst of the Depression put forward Social Security, because of the devastation that had taken place in 1929 during the Great Crash. But members on this floor, members in this Congress understand all too well that we only have to go back to 2008, 2009, during the Great Recession, when people saw their 401k become a 101k, where people lost their benefits. And that, coupled with the great pandemic, this roller coaster of a pandemic that we're living through now, has only further underscored the need for us to enhance the nation's #1 insurance program. And during that same time, during that recession that they witnessed their funds depleted and devastated or lost altogether, or during layoffs that have occurred through no fault of their own, Social Security has never missed a payment. Not a pension payment, not a spousal payment, not dependent coverage, nor disability. It might surprise, Madam Speaker, some of our viewers and listeners that more veterans depend on Social Security disability than they do on the VA. And it's because Social Security provides these benefits, and especially for our veterans. People in this chamber and in the Senate take great pride of talking about our veterans on Memorial Day and on Veterans Day, and rightfully so, and saluting them and saying what a grateful nation they are. Well, if we're truly a grateful nation, then it's time that we end the more than 50 years of neglect and make sure that our veterans are able to get the benefits that they richly deserve without 5-month delays, and making sure that they have disability that they know that they can rely on, that works for the times that we are living through currently. Children continue to rely on Social Security, and it is the #1 anti-poverty program for children. And you know what? 10,000 baby boomers a day become eligible for Social Security, and millennials will need the benefit more than baby boomers. And millennials have been put into the position where they have less money to be able to afford private pensions, where they have been burdened with college loan debt, where they're unable to get the kind of mortgages their parents enjoyed and in fact have incomes that are below that level. And so Social Security becomes their salvation. But it can't be their salvation.
So the good news is that over 2.5 million households have been helped by emergency rental assistance. And with back paid rent, millions of families have a clean slate and some housing and stability to get the help through the crisis. But the sad news is that many struggling renters have yet to receive assistance. There are many people that remain at risk of losing their homes. Initially, distribution of funds was slow and inefficient. There was no national rent relief infrastructure prior to the crisis, and the government needed to use a patchwork process of distribution that put tremendous administrative burdens on states, cities, and localities. Now, the Treasury projects that as much as $30 billion of the total rent relief will be spent. It estimates that at least 80% of the program's first round of funding will be spent. More than 100 state and local entities distributing funds were effectively out of rent relief money. From the first round, that is, having distributed 95% or more to struggling renters and landlords. According to the Treasury report, nearly 130 distributors had already moved on to the second round of funds. Some high-need places are finding that all the money from both pots is already accounted for.
Around the America Competes Act, another extraordinarily important piece of legislation that the House Democratic majority is going to pass this week. The America Competes Act will invest in the creation of millions of good-paying jobs all across America. It will invest in research and development, invest in our national security interests, invest in making sure America can continue to lead the technology and innovation economy. And at the same time, it will deal with some of the inflationary dynamics that we are endeavoring to confront on behalf of the American people. Once again, when we pass the America Competes Act, it will make clear that Democrats deliver for the people. It's now my honor to yield to our distinguished Vice Chair of the House Democratic Caucus, Pete Aguilar.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to extend on behalf of the chair and our colleagues up here our thoughts and our prayers with Senator Ben Ray Lujan. We like to say that Senator Lujan is on loan to the Senate, but he is a House person, and we wish him the best. And we know that he will. Pull through and do well here, and look forward to seeing his smiling face around these parts. This week, on the heels of the fastest economic growth in 4 decades, we continued our efforts to support the